Hello to my air signs Libra, Aquarius and Gemini. Welcome to the Pisces Lunar Eclipse. You'll find the timestamps for your rising signs listed below. Hello Libra Rising, welcome to your reading for the Pisces Lunar Eclipse happening very soon, this Wednesday the 18th of September at 12:36 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. So, eclipse season has opened and we can take a little break from all of our astrological study and our examination and our attempts to ritualize and to work with everything that's going on, and we can just let it take us. We can relax into the idea that eclipses are unstable. They can be quite bombastic, quite fervent, but we can never really predict what may happen. The best way that I've been able to work with the dragon, so the lunar nodes, the dragon's head and tail, have been in retrospect. And it's been really great practice and really great comfort for me to look back on eclipse seasons gone by and to see how they may have played up and showed up in my life. I love that sort of cyclical nature of astrology. You know, we do look at this work and we do try and prepare as best we can for what's to come. It's also great to go back and to look back and to see what had happened before, and to give that a little bit of context and to give that a little bit of examination too. No one wants to live in the past, absolutely not. But sometimes it's imperative that we go back to that proverbial river and we sit with it for a while. And with the knowledge that we've gleaned from our study and from our understanding of this work, we get to create further layers to those experiences. Now, looking at your birth chart, Libra Rising, this Pisces eclipse that's occurring, which will be the first in a series over the next 18 months or so, the dragon is moving from Aries into Pisces. It's not there yet, but the moon is close enough in Pisces to the dragon in Aries at this time that it's partially eclipsed. And so we're beginning this new story in your 6th house, which has got a lot to do with your rhythm, with your repetition, and also the health of your body. So let's ruminate on what that might mean for you. Eclipses in the 6th house can bring about a sort of further examination of the ties that bind or the structures in our life that exist, and there might be something that feels like a breaking of a shackle in some capacity. That's something that can really happen with an eclipse in the 6th house. I've seen it before. It's happened for me in my reflection when feeling bound to a certain rhythm in the 6th house and feeling so overly structured in your life and so put upon, maybe, but like confined or contained. An eclipse in that place can often bring about a new way. It can release the grip of some of those chains. When thinking about the health of your body, that's something that deserves attention as well. And so thinking about the way that your physical health is aiding your mental clarity, and thinking about the systems that operate unconsciously without us even knowing, that keep these beautiful skin suits alive, that's something that can occur there too. Just with my little company here with my pal Dashi, the 6th house can sometimes speak to animals too. It can speak to our animal friends. So that might be something really gentle and really relaxing and really lovely to look forward to as well. The company of animals. There may be more and more animals show up in your life because of the dragons, and urging us to learn about the needs and the emotional manipulation. No. The emotional requirements that our animal friends deserve. Been reading about having pets and things like that. These aren't my pets. I look after lots of beautiful animal friends. That's one of my other jobs. But I was reading about the happiness of our pets and how it's imperative that we make sure that that's a top priority. Pets give so much and animals give so much to our lives. They really do. They fill them up with such love and attention and warmth and comfort, and it's imperative that we give that back to them too. That they're well taken care of. And so in my work as the nanny, it's been a really great time for me to develop my skills in caregiving. I won't have kids, but the nurturing aspects of my life have a lot to do with these little critters. So another thing that we can do with the dragon is we can reflect, we can go back to our life and filter through our memories and start to think about when the last time the dragon was facing into Pisces. So it takes about 18 years to go around the zodiac, for the dragon to go around the zodiac and to reach the same place that it was. And the last time that there were eclipses in Pisces and in Virgo in your 6th house and your 12th house was in, I think, March of 2006 to February of 2008, so the mid to late 2000s. And so I'd like for you to think about all of these words, these think about responsibility, think about repetition, think about confines, think about shackles, think about grindstone, but also think about commitment and think about conditioning too. What did you learn back then? What was present for you around that time, perhaps in relationship to your health as well? I know that a lot of people are really experiencing something that feels like burnout right now, and that's the culture. That's we put that responsibility where it lays for ourselves, but we also must be critical of the culture that we exist in too. This idea that we'll be worked to death if they can at all get away with it. And the culture of our life, we need to develop responsibilities. We need to develop conditioning and repetition are incredible, especially when concerned with the body. But if that's the only thing, everything else can be quite imbalanced, and there can be parts of our the joy and pleasure of life that we miss out on because we're so regimented. That's a good word for the 6th house, actually, regiment. So think about that. Think about what is lacking in your routine, what you could improve upon, and think about what you can ease up on. And know that the dragon, whether you like it or not, is going to emphasize this part of your life too. Maybe think about your animal friends and think about their needs. What are your needs, Dashi? What do you need? What do you need? Nothing? Just some more love? All right, Libra, let's get you some tarot. Looking at the rest of the astrology, there's a lot of activity right in opposition to your 6th house, which is the 12th, which is your unconscious reality. It's the place that connects you with life beyond this dimension, There's a lot of private work that can occur in the 12th house too. It can have a lot to do with our psychology and our internal mechanism. And so after this eclipse in Pisces, which is bringing a lot of emphasis to your 6th house, to the routine and the structure, in the 12th house, there's information coming from Mercury in Virgo. So we know that Mercury's was retrograde and was confusing things and changing it all around, muddying the waters. But now they're very direct and very clear in Virgo, and they're shooting some lines of support out to the external planets too. You right, darling? It's okay. Yes. So, I find that the link between the internal mechanism and the biological spacesuit, as my mum says, to be an imperative one to maintain the health of. When we're hurting on the inside or unconsciously grappling with our demons, our physical self can really take a hit. That's what I love about looking at a birth chart, is the opposition, the links between two. They can really inform one another. And this isn't to say that you're going to hit some major health issues over the next 12 months or anything like that. It is to say that the body can be symptomatic of ill health internally too. And so great, there can be healing that can happen in both areas, and the healing can happen and inform the other as well. Yeah. Let's get some cards. What do you think? What do you think? Ooh. How many? 3? I've taken to chilling out about eclipse season as best I can. Sit, sit. Good girl. Good girl. Sit, 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 sit. There was a time in my astrological career where I was trying to be as helpful as I possibly could. Oh, these are some nice cards. And then part of me was like, well, what's the use in, predicting, as it were, anything if you can't stop it from happening? Like, looking at the astrology and the world around us has been really hard for the past bit of time. And so that's where the reflection comes in. That's where the sort of looking back to give the past some context and to bring some healing for our grief from earlier can really be beneficial and really helpful. It's not always about sort of preparing and prepping and predicting for the future. And in fact, that can sometimes step in the way of real proper grounding too, because we're thinking so far into the distance that we're actually not physically, 6th house, present for the current moment. So yeah, I've been trying to diversify or trying to improve upon my own practice using the astrology, is to not to sort of look forward, predict so much that I'm forgetting the right here, right now. Don't fear, don't be frightened. This card can bring a lot of fear around for people, and they can, especially when we're talking about, predicting the worst and trepidation and all of that kind of stuff. The Tower always reminds us that this foundation was really unhealthy, and so there needed to be an absolute infiltration from outside sources to course correct. And what it looks like to me, Libra Rising, and looking at this chart and speaking about your unconscious, speaking about your inner knowing, and looking forward to Mercury moving into that space soon enough after this first eclipse in Pisces, thinking about how our the health of our unconscious can affect the health of our physical. It doesn't feel that it feels in some way that you've been sort of like perhaps you've been a bit numb to your intuitive skills. This is the High Priestess in reverse, and so we know upright, it's incredible. There's that knowing that we can feel so comforted by with the High Priestess. Upside down, there's that shadow too. And perhaps there's knowing that we hold, that we harbour, that we'd much prefer not to look at. And if we continue not to look at it, that's unstable, that's an unstable foundation. But in the clearing after this impact, the initial impact of shock that the Tower can bring to us, and the fear and the worry, there's a match. There's inspiration that's started again. So to tie this into your astrology, the routines and the rhythms and the containers of obligation that you've been putting yourself through as of late, whether you like it or not, are due for a birthday. And hopefully when things change, you'll have greater access to trusting your gut, trusting your intuition, and being able to course correct or move around, avert any potential shocks or Tower moments that may come up in the future. I don't think that it's worth trying to avoid a Tower moment. That card doesn't come out very often in a reading, and I've been doing this for a long time. But when the Tower comes up, we've got to let it fall. So that's your reading, Libra Rising. I hope that made sense to you. I hope that you feel relaxed enough to go with it. Pisces wants us to just let it take us. So try as best as you can. And I'll be with you to read for you for the next Libra eclipse. Remember, this is leading up to this solar eclipse in Libra too. This is your selfhood. So if what I've been talking about, your physical health showing symptoms of your unhappiness internally, and the change that needs to occur there, then we can look to that solar eclipse in Libra as further to that. It will be calling back on a story that began in October last year. Of course, this is really intense, imperative stuff that we're talking about. This moment in time feels really sincere, and we need to work with it as best we can to improve the lives of ourselves and the lives of those around us. If you'd like to learn more about the nodes, the dragon's head and the dragon's tail, I'm putting together a workshop on the 29th of September in Melbourne at Muses of Mystery. It's a shop that I read at on Sundays. I read tarot there on Sundays, and on the 29th of September I'm holding a workshop that explores the definitions of the lunar nodes, perhaps looking at them on your natal chart, how they maybe play out, but more of like a sharing circle about how each of our individual experiences with our astrology and with that dragon have shown up. So if you'd like to join us, you can book your place at the Muses of Mystery website. I'll leave it in the description below. If you'd like to support my work, always welcome. Financial support's so much appreciated. Of course, not essential. Times are tough. But if you find yourself in a financial position where you can support my work, you can head to buymeacoffee.com/ImaRuby. You can subscribe for 10 Australian dollars a month, or you can put some money in the tip jar. If I've not met you before and you'd like me to draw and read your birth chart, they look like this. I will make one for you and I'll read it to you via Zoom, and then I'll post it to you in the mail so you have the hard copy. That's it. Much love to you, Libra. I hope that made sense. Give big love to Dashi. She's gone and sat on her chair now, so she's settled a little bit, hopefully in time for me to finish these off. Now she's coming back. Okay, well, I've got to go. I love you. Bye. Hello, Aquarius Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Pisces lunar eclipse, happening very soon on Wednesday, the 18th of September at 12:36 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. So we're in the eclipse portal. Things are about to give, about to change, about to show up, about to move. If we can try and emulate the Pisces parts of ourselves, we're going to be cool as a cucumber and just sort of allow it all to shift around us. Hopefully by now we've learned that during eclipse times we can't predict. We need to relax into the idea of expecting the unexpected, and we need to consolidate in the aftermath what has shown up or occurred or shed or revealed itself, and then work from there as the new story. And so we've been dealing with eclipses in Aries and in Libra for the last 12 months, and we're stepping into a new story of eclipses in Pisces and in Virgo. And we're kind of I'm just looking at your chart now, forgive me. I've been trying my best not to try and be so mechanical with my explanation. I've been trying to sort of really harness the Pisces parts of me and just allow the work to unfold. I've been really trying to hang on to my skills in the flow state, and sometimes other parts of my astrology can really step in the way of that, and it can become quite rigid and become quite strict. What I'm really loving about my journey with the dragon, the lunar nodes, is that expectation of the unexpected really creates a lot of room to one, be wrong, but two, to be receptive. Looking at your birth chart, Aquarius Rising, Pisces is the sign that rules your second house, which is your money, your coin, your autonomy financially, as it were. It's also got a great deal to do with your talent in this life. And I like that the dragon is entering into this space for you because it's requiring an examination of that part of your life. Right now, in the current structure of eclipses in Aries and Libra, on my birth chart, I've been experiencing that for the past 12 months. And a lot of it has not been easy. A lot of it has been really, really beneficial and really necessary. I always get a bit trepidatious when I start to talk about the second house because of my own relationship with lack and finance and my ability to manage money and make it grow. And that's a lifelong journey for me. That's something that is my birthright, and I'm working through, and I will find a clearing. I'm sure of it. There has to be a moment for me. It can be difficult for some of us that have had an experience with poverty in the past. There can be such fear and paranoia around that bottom line. That's the way that this current structure would have it. Paid by the hour, paid for your time. All of that has people in the just natural expectation that they must work and work and work and work and work and produce and contribute in order to put food on the table. And that's a real sticking point for a lot of us as well. That can be really exhausting, especially when we watch our family, our ancestors, those that we've come, the family line, do the same thing and struggle. And so, yeah, the second house, there's more to it than just money. It's got a lot to do with your talent as well. And talent doesn't always have to be commodified. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, Aquarius Rising. So in the way that the last period of time with the eclipses facing my second house have been challenging, there's also been real room for me to recognize what I am good at and the contribution of life, or how I contribute to life, and that definition, and separating it, perhaps unpicking it from financial viability. It's been really important to examine that, and I didn't expect that would happen at this time, as I never do, but it does. And by following the dragon and really zoning in and honing in on what's happening, feeling the emotions that surround myself and interact with my body, lack mentality, fear of not having enough, worry over those ineptitudes that seem to be so ingrained in my mind as far as I can see it. It's been really valuable for the dragon to be like urging me to look at, and where were those pain points? Where did they begin? Of course, Chiron has been playing a part in that too, and that's an Aries topic. We're over in Pisces, and so we're looking at a different set of players. This moon is actually in very close conjunction with Neptune, the planet of illusion and of dreams and of fantasy. And so what I would kind of like to encourage with you, Aquarius Rising, is a bit more of that. And you might be feeling a bit more of that as time goes on. I love that the word delusion and delusion are so similar and so attached to the planet Neptune. It reminds me of times when you can critique your second house about the delusion of that. And that's all part of the work that we do when we consider our self-worth. What I do know about the dragon is that we can't prepare for it because nothing might happen. But if we look to the future and look to the past to sort of examine and sort of maybe find some correlations, I'd like for you to think about, if you can, if you're old enough, to think about your life from March 2006 to February 2008. It's a very specific block of time, but you can be generous with that. Think about 2006 leading into 2008, and think about your relationship with money, and think about your relationship with your talents, and think about your perception of their worth. You were younger then, it was 18 years ago or so. So there was a different sort of level of optimism, I hope, I imagine there would have been in your well, that's actually not true, because we can develop that with age too. We can develop optimism, we can develop enthusiasm over time as well. I think there's something about the sort of the youthfulness, or the memory always paints things in a certain color palette, doesn't it? You think about times gone by with nostalgia. But yeah, our life ain't over yet. And great things can happen the older you get. In fact, a lot do. Maybe folks with a different experience might find their relationship with their second house improving over time. Pisces wants us to be optimistic. It wants us to imagine. Neptune wants us to do that too. So this eclipse might bring up some fantasy for you. Maybe you've been thinking about the way that you've been earning money, or what you've been, diligently working with or working towards, and you've been fantasizing that there might be an alternative or a new way of procuring finance, procuring, stability in that world. It might be something that feels a bit potentially delusional. It may have been criticized in that way. But hopefully this eclipse will start off a story where you can rely on some of that that intuition that Pisces is so good at, that the magic of life. I really admire people that go through life, and of course it's not a continuum, it's not constant for these people, but there are certain types of characters that I admire so much that live from impulse to impulse and somehow seem to make it work. There's a hustler sort of nature about them, and I think in times gone by, I had that about myself too. And when unconscious to the fact, that's when things really started to flow. Pisces wants to loosen the grip that we've had so tightly on whatever. Pisces wants us to sort of gain a new perspective on our lives. So I hope that this eclipse allows you, or provides you with opportunity to gain a new perspective on your livelihood, Aquarius Rising. It feels with the other, aspects and things that have been moving around, this might be a requirement for you to think big, or to think differently about your finances, to maybe start something and start a new income stream or a new investment in your talent, in the environment that you find yourself in now. Remember that Aries is your third house, which is about the village, and so there's been this sort of revelation there. So that just ties this into this idea of like shifting space, new place, new me. That's something that might be a nice thing to meditate on too. The moon is in square with Jupiter over in Gemini, so this is your house of creativity and your self-expression, your access to pleasure and to joy. Now Jupiter, I should say a square is kind of tricky, it's kind of brusque, but Jupiter's great for Pisces. That optimism is pretty great. Square from the moon to Jupiter, I just keep on thinking to myself, why not Aquarius? Why not just try? Why not just give it a go? It doesn't matter if you make a mistake or it doesn't work out. Why don't you just try something new? Let's get some tarot and see what they say. And remember that this is just the start. This is just the start of a story. This is an ongoing, it's not a battle with a dragon. I've been doing a lot of reading about the different definitions of the lunar nodes in astrology. Definitely, karmic destiny and karmic retribution are two definitions that are completely valid. I think about the ways that, the fear attached to eclipses, contemporary in the astrology, but also in the past, the sheer fact of seeing the sun get blotted out for a while, not knowing what on earth was going on. There's a lot of fear around that. Maybe just these chats about your coin purse, about your money, about how you can provide for yourself, that's enough to sort of stoke some conversation, Remember, Neptune is about dreams. It is about making the impossible possible. The moon and Neptune they're together at this full moon. The sun's lighting up both of them. So the sun's lighting up the moon, and we can't see it, but we know that it's hitting Neptune too. So there's exacerbation here, there's growth here. Think about it. Do you sometimes say to yourself, oh no, I couldn't possibly? Oh, I really thought that, I wonder if I can... Oh, these are lovely. All right. Can you see that? These cards are telling me, Aquarius Rising, especially after everything that we've just spoken about, I want you to find a place of equilibrium in your life where your emotional needs are met, your happiness, your love space, your heart is being lit up, and your back pocket too. There's no reason to slave away and keep your nose to the grindstone. I mean, that's easy for me to say. I've got no dependents, you know what I mean? I know that it's so difficult to raise a family these days. But if we're going to go astrologically, these cards are sort of talking about this idea of let's fill out both of these. If I look at that sort of link between them two, I see the Ten of Pentacles as being... there's something about legacy there. Hello, darling. Hi. Hi. Sorry, I've got a very needy puppy here that's been patiently waiting all of this time for a cuddle and some more pats and probably another walk. And she's been sitting in the corner quietly groaning, but now the groaning has become too much. So here she is. You're right, babe. Long story short, honey, don't sell yourself short. Your happiness is just as important as your financial stability. So if there's something that's urging you to drastically reroute in terms of your happiness, your love, but you're thinking, oh, I can't do that because I've got financial responsibilities. These cards with that sort of juggling act, which it will be in the center, but yeah, it's an opportunity to provide yourself with, the fruits of life, the good outcomes on both sides of the scale. So hopefully that's enough of a rumination and a meditation for you. Remember, eclipses, we're not required to do anything. Let it happen. Let it wash over you. Whatever happens will happen. But if you're limiting yourself if you're limiting your heart because you're worried about the bottom line, this is funny advice coming from me. You only live once. You won't know unless you try. As long as you're trying, Aquarius Rising, it's all right. Keep going. Don't do anything stupid. You're not going to. You're an Aquarius. You'll be fine. You're going to put yourself in a pickle. But if the only thing that's holding you back is this mentality of oh no, but I'm bound to this financial income stream, I can't do anything else, I couldn't possibly, just think about that, and maybe the dragon will be encouraging you to think beyond, outside of the confine. That's your reading, Aquarius Rising. Much love to you. If you'd like to meet up with me, I'm holding a workshop in Melbourne on the 29th of September, all about the dragon, all about the lunar nodes and what I know of them, and what, how it's a sharing circle, how they've affected my chart and my life, and also a light examination of everyone and how their nodal placements on their birth chart have affected their attention, and also the transits too. It'd be interesting to see, especially at this changeover from Aries into Pisces, what we might be looking at. Remember 2006, 2008, remember that pocket of time and how you related to yourself fiscally. And now think about the development there and think about what needs a shake-up as well. If you'd like to support my work financially, if you can afford it, you can subscribe to my horoscopes at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. You can put some money in the tip jar there too. And if I haven't met you before and you'd like me to draw your birth chart, I can make you one that looks like this, and I'll read it to you via Zoom and then post it to you in the mail. So you can make your appointment at my website, umaruby.com. I'll be with you, and I'll give you a reading too online for the Libra solar eclipse. As you know, we always prepare for the unexpected. We do nothing. But I'll give you that reading. So until then, much love from me and from Dashi. Say bye. Say bye. Say bye. No. Right, bye. Hello, Gemini Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Pisces lunar eclipse, happening very soon, this Wednesday, the 18th of September at 12:36 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. So we're in the eclipse portal. Things might feel pretty lucid, pretty confusing. Hopefully you can find room in that mud to relax a little bit. It's what I've been really trying to teach myself, is to, if I'm going to learn about this stuff, then I've got to roll with the tide of the ocean. That's what Pisces really wants us to do. Pisces is really interested in connectivity in a grand scale of just letting it take you wherever it wants to take you. So we're going to start to talk about a little story of the dragon. So if you've been with me for a while, you know that I tend to refer to the lunar nodes as the dragon. And for the last period of time, we've been having eclipses in Aries and in Libra. And we're at the crossover mark right now. The dragon is imminently about to move into Pisces. Still got a little while yet to tend to in Aries. But this moon, the Pisces full moon, will be at, I think, 25 degrees of, 25 degrees of Pisces. So it's close enough to that dragon's head in Aries for it to be partially eclipsed. So at this moment, at this moon, we're starting a new story. And what we know of the eclipses and what they bring to us, the only thing that we can rely on is instability. The only thing that we can rely on is not knowing exactly what might happen, and having to prepare for the energy to be unstable, to be unreliable. This can bring about great influx of new opportunity. This can bring about incredible changes to our lives that we weren't really expecting. This can also, if we're thinking about perhaps the dragon's tail, we can start to think about loss or an enforced shedding, I think is a great way to explain what the South Node, dragon's tail eclipses can bring. On your birth chart, Gemini Rising, we're looking at two really pivotal parts. We're looking at Pisces in your 10th house, where you're most publicly perceived, your vocation, your career, if that's interesting to you. And then on the other side of the scale, we have the 4th house, which is your root structure and your home life. The walls of comforting, nurturing, quiet privacy. So this is where the tail will eventually move into, and next year will bring about some South Node, dragon's tail eclipses. This feels that the top of your chart, the most visible part of your chart is being referenced time and again with extra energy and an influx, a deluge of new possibility. I like this quite a lot. And thinking in retrospect, the way that I do to make sense of the astrology, I always go back over my life and I think about the last times that these houses of my chart were triggered and what I can glean from that moment to now. So the last time that the dragon was facing your 10th house, your public facing self, where you're most publicly perceived, was in March of 2006 all the way through to February of 2008. So this is the last period of time, the last pocket of time that there were North Node Dragon's head facing eclipses in your 10th house. So if you're old enough, perhaps you can recall or reflect upon your life in the late 2000s. So from 2006 to 2008, roughly, and think about your ideas around your vocation, your public-facing self, what it is that you were going to do for a career or what you were going to contribute to the world around you with your skill set. Think about then and think about what perhaps was what you were redefining or what redefined itself, let's face it, around your home life, around your root structure, your family. Think about what losses you encountered in your home life and think about what was urging you to be fully visible in your 10th house back in the late 2000s. And now think about how old you are now. It was 18 years ago. Think about what your personhood can contribute now, and perhaps in a way of not, we've got to prepare for the, we've got to prepare for the unexpected, but how do you do that? I think the eclipse pocket of time as a reader of astrology kind of chills me out a little bit because, you sort of always want to try and get it right and sort of try and give the best information that you can around what to expect. But there's also great help and there's great, it's really nice just to let life take you sometimes. At this particular eclipse, this first Pisces lunar eclipse, the sun and the moon are in pressure with Jupiter in your first house, Jupiter in Gemini. So think about the wellspring that's been permeating or that's been building in your first house. Think about that. When I say wellspring, I mean the sort of the moment of release. Something's coming from within you, something that you can't contain or hide or, block the flow any longer. Jupiter in Gemini, we know is unstable. We know it can speak too much. We know it can sort of have a million ideas and there can be a bit of a desperation sometimes. We know that Jupiter is really beneficial and really helpful for Pisces. So this square of the sun and the moon and Jupiter at this eclipse, it feels like a starter gun. When you think about your most public-facing self and you think about all that you've sort of been working towards, for good and for bad, think about the disappointments as well. We must include everything when we talk about this stuff. I sort of maybe can see that for the next 12, 18 months of your life, the rest of this year into all of next year, this highlight, this insatiability into the 10th house hopefully will bring some fruitful new activation for you. You might start to feel that all of your hard work over all of these years is finally starting to pay off, and in ways that you couldn't have ever possibly predicted it would, but here it is. On the opposite side of Pisces, we have Virgo. So after this eclipse in Pisces, this is the starter gun, the moment. You don't have to be too exact about it too. let the full moon do what it needs to, but also relax into it. You don't have to do any ritualizing here. You don't have to remember the astrology and remember to do your candlelight ritual at the full moon. Let it all go. Sort of go underground if you can, Gemini rising. The week after, pretty much the full week after that moment, there's a lot of activity and a lot of helpful support from Virgo. Virgo's shooting out some really positive beams of light from the sun that are warming up Pluto and Uranus in Taurus and Capricorn. So rebel spirit, change it up, revelation, revolution. And also Mercury is doing the same thing. So Mercury in Virgo is really helpful, really powerful, and really meticulous. So thinking about your fourth house, thinking about your home, your family structure, where you came from, how you nurture others and nurture yourself. If things have been sort of conflicted over the past period of time when Mercury was retrograde, there's clarity here again. We're coming back to a story that sort of started a couple of months ago and got really messy and really confusing, but now it's leveling out. And in fact, it's been quite helpful with this sort of personal rebellion, which looks encouraging to me on your birth chart. In the grander culture, looking around, we can really feel rebellion at all sides, and sometimes it can feel worrisome. The uprising of the righteous seems to be really quite obvious. If we can bring that down to a personal moment, there's really room to be rebellious in confines that are self-inflicted, or in confines that have you behave or react or act from a place where you think that's expected of you, so you should. It's very personal in the fourth house too. The root structure of our chart can be really comforting and really nurturing. It can also be really painful as well. In fact, it's often both. So hopefully the clarity of Mercury with this particular information or this particular messaging in the week after this eclipse will bring about some kind of Oprah aha moments, just be like, oh yeah, okay, great. Writing's on the wall. I've got it. I understand now. In regard to this relationship, familial relationship, or this thing that's going on at home, we're clear now. And so now I can refocus, now I can prepare myself for the unexpected when it comes to my vocation, when it comes to what I'm putting out there. Let's get some tarot, Gemini rising. I'm just looking at all of my other notes. Look, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me, we're moving into the equinox, Sunday the 22nd. It's going to be proper spring, hopefully. Right now in this part of Australia, we're experiencing fake spring, where it's sort of like, it smells so perfumey and lovely and fertile, and then it rains and it's cold and it's windy. But we're going to move past that. And from the 22nd, if you wanted to take your little moment with your seedlings, and really think about it, really, think about what it is that you're attempting to cultivate. The equinox will, bring that forward. Help you through. This might not be working for everyone, but we'll work on it. I'm going to try and make it fit for most of you. This is the Four of Swords, so this is an urgency to quiet the mind, to take a moment. This card always reminds me of the initial shock of truth or outcome, and how that can start to sort of germinate anxiety. And so when we see the Four of Swords, we really are urged to take a moment, take a break, take a breath, and to put all of that down for a moment and to try and get a better relationship with our physical self, and to tell the mantra, in this moment I am safe. That's what I always think about when I see the Four of Swords. because there is the potential for that anxiety to start to really what's the word I'm looking for? Just grow. Just the anxiety feels that it could be on the way. Now, the reason I said that it was not for everyone, but it might be, I have the Queen of Pentacles here, and I have whenever I see the Queen of Pentacles, I really think of motherhood. I think of someone who is a caregiver or receives care, and reciprocal, always. But because of all of this shedding that we've just been discussing about the fourth house and our home, our root system, where we came from, if there's been some difficulty with maternal figures, or if there's been some conflict with your caregivers, and this could be overt or it could be surreptitious, but if you can sense that there's something isn't right in the family unit, as it were, around topics around nurturing and safety and caregiving, I would like for you to give yourself breaks from this new information, because thinking about Mercury moving through there as well, I don't wish for this moment to induce further anxiety, especially when there's so much permeating in opposition to the fourth house. The relationship, with the mother as the mother is complex, and it holds the key to the way that we perceive the world. And some of us go through a journey to find a sense of nurturing in others and the world around us. Some of us go through a journey of becoming the nurturer. And either way, in all of the different ways that we relate to that safety, that the fourth house really does, it's the place to find safety. And, in mother's arms, that's the traditional cliche, that's the place of safety. We fully know not everybody has a relationship with their mother. Not everyone has that connection of nurturing. Some people have to break one cycle to begin another one. This work is really important, Gemini Rising. This root work, it's powerful too. It can be so transformative, and it can change our lives, change our perception on the world around us. It's not without its anguish as well. So during eclipse season, do your best to expect the unexpected. Do your best to do nothing where at all possible. Allow the unstable energy to show up, to present itself. And also keep in your mind that this is a lunar eclipse with the dragon's head close by in Pisces, in your public-facing self, your vocation. So there might be some things to anticipate in an excited way that can help level out and help mediate some of the potential anxiety in the fourth house. Now more than ever, it's imperative that we all feel safe as best we can, and we look and try and find safety wherever we can. So think about where you're investing your energy, think about who the people that you're investing your energy with, and think about how true that safety is. Yeah. Unconditional love and acceptance is something that I hope that everyone can feel and emulate for themselves internally, eventually. And that kind of nagging unconscious anxiety can sometimes put pressure on our ability to succeed publicly. So I've got you. You're doing your best, and the dragon will, whether you like it or not, show you where you're going. All right, that's enough. If you'd like to learn more about the Dragon, Gemini Rising, and you're in Melbourne, I'm hosting some workshops at Muses of Mystery. It's a shop in the Nicholas building that I've been doing some tarot reading every Sunday at. And in the lead up to the next eclipse, the Libra eclipse, I'm hosting a workshop on the Dragon. And I'm going to be sharing as best I can my definitions of the eclipse, the lunar nodes, how they've shown up for me personally and in the world from what I can perceive. And we'll also be doing some storytelling too, some sharing about how our nodes affect our chart, or could affect our chart, and how the transits have been doing the same thing. So if you're into it and you like the way that I describe astrology, you can book your place at the workshop via the Muses of Mystery website. I'll put it in the description below. If you'd like to support my work, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/UmaRuby. You can subscribe for 10 Australian dollars a month or put some money in the tip jar. And if you'd like me to finally draw your birth chart, if I've not met you before for a birth chart reading, head to my website, umaruby.com, and I will draw you one like this, and I'll post it to you in the mail after we're done, so you have the hard copy. Much love to you, Gemini Rising. Just let it take you. Go with it. It's a Pisces eclipse. Anything could happen, and it probably will. I'll speak to you soon.